Alrighty, so hi everyone, welcome to our New and Now series. So today we are covering our product updates for January 2025. If this is your first time joining in, my name is Alexis Eaglin and I'm a HubSpot certified trainer here on the Simple Strat team. So in this New and Now series, really our goal is to be able to give you guys an update on all of the updates that have been released in the last month, but also give you real life examples of how you can use them, things that are a little bit more outside of the box, and it's powered to just give you guys the results that you're looking for. So we do host these every single month, so be sure you stay connected with me, with Tyler, with Simple Strat, that way you don't miss out on any ones in the future. Oh, coming up today, we've got some exciting updates on helping to manage some notifications, really important things about the scoring features and scoring properties in HubSpot that you need to prepare for. Some things when it comes to customer journeys, invoicing, and a whole lot more, so stay tuned. Just a couple of housekeeping items. So this session is recorded and we will be sending you the recording and the slides within the next day or so. Typically by the end of the week, you should get that in the inbox, and that way you can share this with your team or anyone else if you're needing to jump off early and you missed part of it. So always stick tuned for those updates. And then I always like to say, keep kind of a running list of updates that may or may not apply to your tier, because if that list gets long enough, there is your justification to take to your bosses and say, hey, it is time for that upgrade. We need to make this happen, and here's all of those reasons why. So definitely be sure to keep notes of those, even if they don't necessarily apply to you right now. So again, if you are just joining us and you haven't heard of us before, Simple Strat is a diamond level solutions partner. So we help in all sorts of ways. So whether you are looking to purchase HubSpot, contemplating that upgrade, and you just have questions about pricing and tiers, we are your go-to people for that. But also, if you need help setting up any of the tools that we're talking about and really implementing some of these changes for your system, one of my favorite things is fixing your HubSpot portal. So if you are inheriting a very messy portal or things have gotten out of hand and you just need help kind of reining things in and getting those fixes, we definitely help with that, as well as just educational support as well with these webinars and our HubSpot Hacks channel on YouTube. But if you ever want to learn more, you can always schedule a free consult at simplestrat.com/consult. All right, that is enough for me for the moment. I'll come back at the end with some questions, but for now, I will pass it over to Tyler and he will take us through.
Awesome. Thanks, Alexis. So I'm Tyler Sprunk, one of the co-founders here at Simple Strat, and I get the pleasure of leading these webinars every month, going through the 100+ updates that HubSpot drops and finding the ones that are most important and that I can try to get through in an hour. So thanks for joining us. Today is definitely going to be a kind of quality of life update day. There's no really special new features, but there's a lot of little things that are just going to make your day-to-day life easier in HubSpot that you'll definitely want to know about. So let's dive in here. If you've been with us before, you can tune me out for the next 10 seconds here. We'll just walk through the new folks, kind of what to expect. So the format of the slides, you're going to see the name of the update here. We make sure that we use the same name of the update that HubSpot uses. So if you go to look for more information or to enroll in a beta, the name on the slide is the name that you're going to search for. Then the status. So everything's either going to be it's live. So if you've got the right license, you've got access to it already. Public beta, which means you do have to enroll in the beta, but that beta will be available to you. And private beta, which means you have to request to be invited to the beta. So those private betas are usually a little bit more locked down. And then the hubs that it's available for. So is it available for Marketing Hub, Sales Hub, all the hubs? And then the tiers, so starter, professional, enterprise, so what you need essentially to get access to this update. So at the end of this webinar, there will be a very quick survey just as you exit. Please do answer those questions, just a couple questions to help us make sure that we're delivering the content that's most helpful to you. One of the feedback that I get all the time is that I do talk very fast. That is because there are so many updates. So feel free to leave that feedback, but trust me, I know we want to make sure that we get through everything today, and we will send out that deck and recording. And after the event, in addition to the deck and the recording, a few ways that you can kind of dive in a little bit deeper to the updates we're talking about. The first one is the product updates section in your portal. So you click on your company name in the top right-hand corner and then click on product updates. Next one is I do run a weekly newsletter over on LinkedIn, so orangeadmin.com. I cover one update in a lot more detail every week. And then, of course, we got our YouTube channel, HubSpot Hacks, which is quick to the point HubSpot tutorials. Oftentimes, updates make it there with a much more deep dive into how to use it. So without further ado, let's get into all of these updates. So we kind of break it up by hub, and our first section of our webinar is the updates that apply to all of the hubs. So our first one is an update to the navigation. So a couple months ago, we covered that HubSpot released some new object types, so types of records that we can store in HubSpot. And those are appointments, courses, listings, and services. So everybody has access to those. So if you needed to store information about those, it didn't have enterprise, didn't have custom objects, this was an awesome thing that HubSpot gave to us. But it was hard to find them. And so now if you turn them on in your settings, you actually can access them through the navigation, which for our clients that are using these, I've got a few clients that are using services, for example, for onboarding projects and those kinds of things. Much, much easier to use those now. The next update here is for our forms. So pretty much every month I cover a couple updates that HubSpot has released for their new form editor and just making that tool better and better. So there's two updates in one here. So the first update, and that's what you're seeing on the screen, is that people that are filling out your form can now search for options within a dropdown. So if you've got a long list of dropdown, like the industry property that has all kinds of industries, they can search and find the industry that they want to indicate. And that works for any drop-down property, whether that's a default property or a custom one. And the second one is for phone numbers. So if you've got a phone number field and it's got set up to do the formatting, there's that country code, right? And that country code is also a drop-down. And so what HubSpot is doing now is it's looking at their IP address and it's pre-filling that country code based on the country associated to their IP address. They can certainly override that if they're using a VPN or something like that. But for the vast majority of folks filling out your form, that's just going to save them a little bit of time on the phone number piece. Moving on to a permissions update. So this is going to look probably pretty familiar to you if you create forms reports often in HubSpot. And this is the ability to now on a dashboard. So you've been able to do it on forms for a while. Now you can do it on a dashboard where you can get much more granular about who can access that dashboard and what they can do. So, do you want everybody to be able to view it, just certain people? And then do you want just specific teams to be able to view or edit that? So that is down to the individual dashboard, editing who can access and view that. So a couple use cases for, why might there be some dashboards that you want different people to be able to see versus edit? So some examples might be, maybe you want to prevent others from editing dashboards that report on like mission critical KPIs. Like maybe it's the KPIs that you're reporting to the board every month, and you don't want people to be able to get in and edit those, but you do want them to be able to see those dashboards. Maybe you've got a commissions dashboard, so you're reporting on what you're paying out to the sales team, and you don't want that to be easily available to the entire team, just management, for example. Maybe you want to limit access of region or department specific dashboards just to make sure their dashboard view kind of isn't getting cluttered up with data that's not important to them. Or maybe you're working with an agency or another third party and you want to give them some reporting on the work that they're doing with you. They have access to your HubSpot. But again, you want to control the reports that are on those dashboards. You don't want them to be able to edit that. You just want them to be able to see the performance for that work. So those are just a couple ideas to get the wheels turning on why you might use those permissions. So I mentioned that there's a lot of quality of life updates, right? So this one is probably one of the biggest ones, and you may have already noticed this if anybody turned the beta on, because it is a pretty big shift. The way we've created lists and HubSpot has been the same for as long as I can remember. And I was doing a demo with a HubSpot solutions engineer the other day, and they had this beta enrolled, and I was like, oh, this is very different. And so their goal here is to speed up the process of creating a list in HubSpot. And so that process will feel a lot more like creating a workflow feels today. So when you go and create a new list, you don't have to type in the name, the description, choose active or static. You don't have to do all of that right away. you just get right into it. So you pick your object type. You could use AI to start kind of help you build the filters if you want. Then you get right into it. And then when you go to save the list, that's when HubSpot's going to prompt you to make sure you've got a name and a description and whether it's static or active. So again, just faster process just to kind of get into it and making it a little bit more similar to what you may experience, what you may be used to with other tools like workflows in HubSpot. The other thing that they're giving us that's not on the screen here is when you're looking at your kind of lists, there's like a quick create button in the top right now. So if you just want to quickly create a contact list, it's just there's a quick create, and then there's the standard objects, contact, company, deal right there. You just click that, and it'll even skip this page that you're seeing here and go straight into the filter. So again, just helping you speed things up a bit. We mentioned at the top that there were some updates related to notifications. So this is the first one we're going to cover today. And this is an update to the sidebar in HubSpot. When you, at the very, very top, there's like the little bell icon. If you click on that, you see all of the notifications that HubSpot has given you as a user. And they're making some changes to that sidebar that pops up after you click that little icon there. And they're just making it easier for you to manage your notifications. They understand that as HubSpot has grown in capabilities, you're getting a lot more notifications likely, especially if you're taking advantage of those new capabilities. So a couple of things they're doing is they're defaulting your view to the notifications you have not yet seen. They're surfacing bulk actions, so you can, do this like select all at the top here and delete them or mark them as read. They also made the view is like a little bit more compressed. There's not quite as much padding between between lines essentially. And so you can see a lot more updates before you have to, or notifications before you have to scroll. And they're also making it easier to unsubscribe to certain notification types. So you see these three little action items, action buttons here. You can actually unsubscribe to that type of notification very easily right from in here. You don't have to go into your settings and notifications and unsubscribe there. So again, just easier to manage all those notifications you're getting from HubSpot. And if you feel like you're getting too many notifications from HubSpot, the next update is also for you. So every month, HubSpot is going to send you an email that lists out the notification types that you haven't opened in the last 30 days. So if you've received notifications and you haven't opened any notifications of that type in the last 30 days via email, then it's going to say, here are the notifications that seems like they're not very, very valuable to you. You're not opening these emails. Would you like us to turn them off? And you actually have to act to keep them turned on. So if you don't do anything, they'll turn them off in 7 days. Otherwise, there's just a button in the email that you can use to keep those turned on. It'll be interesting to see if they let people kind of, let individual users decide if they want this or not. Right now, it's in public beta. So if you enroll in the public beta, it is going out to all users for all notification types. All right. Moving on from notifications and talking about your customer data. So a lot of the data laws that are passing in states and countries and continents around the world are making it so that people can request that either their information be completely deleted by your company or that they can see the information that you have stored about them. So basically you export their data and send it to them. And so what HubSpot is doing is they're making the process of managing those requests easier. And so if you use this, you can essentially publish a page on your site that has a form that allows them to easily make these requests. So it would go in like with your like privacy kind of terms there that you put on your website, privacy policy, that's the word there. And then they can fill out that form and get and request that their information be deleted or that they get that information from you. And then what HubSpot is giving you in addition to the ability to publish that form easily is this sort of view, this management view inside your portal where you can see, okay, what was the type of request that they made? Was it an export or a deletion? What was the contact? What's the due date? So you can set up the due dates based on the policies that you need to comply with. And then you can actually take action from here as well. So just making it easier for you to comply with those various data privacy laws. And this is in private beta. So again, this is one of those you have to request access to and will likely change and evolve slightly before it goes live. All right, this is like the smallest update that I'm going to talk about, but probably the most impactful, especially for folks that are often editing information about contacts and companies and other records in HubSpot. So I know this GIF here is very pixelated. We stole this from this one from HubSpot, so I apologize that it's a little blurry. But I think you get the point. Basically, in the past, you've been able to edit properties directly from that index view, so that list of contacts, for quite a while now. That was a big update in and of itself. But after you made those edits to any columns, you had to remember to go click save. And if you're like me, you often exited the page without hitting save, and do that way too often. So now you don't have to hit save anymore. You just make the change, and in the bottom left, it'll give you a little indication that said that those changes are saved, and also a little undo button. So if you made a mistake and you want to undo the things that were just saved, you can do that easily. So very simple update. Big time saver though, if you're going in there and editing a bunch of properties for a saved view of contacts, companies, etc. Next update here is some additional functions for calculated properties. So calculated properties are properties that do calculations for us. Imagine that. And they've given us 3 new functions in those calculated properties. So just making these a lot more powerful. There's already a lot of functions in there. This is awesome way, if you don't have Operations Hub to be able to do that, like data formatting and things like that. Calculated properties are an awesome tool to start to get into some of that functionality. And so the 3 new I said it's 4 new, but 2 of them very similar functions that you have available in calculated properties. One is Euler's number, which I'll be honest, I had never heard of before this, but I'll talk about some use cases for it in just a second. The other one is string length. So if you've got a property that has text in it, you can see how many characters are in that property, and then add or subtract time, which I think are probably the biggest ones here. So some use cases for those new ones. The add or subtract time, like I mentioned, is probably the biggest one here. So you can easily calculate renewal dates. So, I've got a close date and my renewal is a year from now. I can add a year and stamp that into a property. Subscription or license expiration alerts. The property would be, you use a workflow that looks at this property to actually send the alert, but the property would store the expiration date. Trial period tracking. So that's the update we have, or the example we have here. Where we're adding, we've got a start date, so we're adding 14 days to that, and that's giving us our trial expiration date. SLA targets, so if you've got, everyone needs a response after this thing within 1 day, you can do those kinds of things as well. The string length calculations are probably a little bit, not less valuable, but will be used less often, but a couple use cases for this. So maybe you want to flag especially short, like company or contact name. So if there's a property that you're expecting, more than a couple characters, and maybe it's on a form, so you get a lot of submissions to it, and you want to flag things where people have just like typed in a letter real quick just to get through the form. You could do things like that. You can also do some submission quality scoring. So you use your imagination on this one a bit in terms of how it would be helpful and how you'd want to implement it. But for example, maybe you've got a how can we help you question on like a demo request form. And if they've got a really short answer to that, maybe only like 10 characters or something, their intent is likely lower. Likewise, if they have a really, really long answer, it's probably spam. And so you could start to use some string length just to get some very early indicators in terms of things you may want to flag for a manual review before assigning to a salesperson, for example. And so this example is what we have here. So, if pretend deal description was submitted by a form, if they have just 10 characters in there, we stamp very short into this calculated property. So things like that. And then Euler's number, somebody that knows math would need to actually create these formulas for you, but how it could be used are things like advanced financial modeling. So it's used for, and ChatGPT helped me with this, I'll be honest, continuously compounding interest, predicting customer lifetime value. You could also model churn rates using exponential decay formulas, which just sounds exhilarating. And then also project MRR growth. So I didn't even try to give you like an actual formula. But if you've got somebody that knows math, you can now do that in HubSpot. So maybe there's one person on the call that's really excited about this. All right. Moving into some AI tools to help us, basically move faster in HubSpot. So a couple months ago, I talked about regular expressions for property validations, which sounds a bit like using Euler's number to do calculations. So HubSpot, what they now gave us is now we can type in plain text what validation rules we want for a property, and it will convert it to the regular expression gobbledygook that makes it happen. So for example, I gave some use cases for using regular expression property validations when these came out. So phone number format, making sure that that's a certain format. This is the regular expression text to make this happen. Now you can just say, I want a phone number formatted like this, and AI will spit this out for you so that you can do that quicker. So you can also do it with email addresses, 5-digit zip codes, validating the URL starts with the right stuff, that there's no white spaces in a form. So all kinds of different property validation rules that you can have. And now this AI makes it so you don't have to know how to type up regular expressions or go to another website to figure that out. It'll just do it for you right there. Another big AI update, probably one that's going to be used quite a bit more than the last one I just talked about, is activity summaries on records. And so what these are is at the very top of your activity feed, so the center pane on a contact company deal, whatever, it's going to look at all of the activities that you have tracked. So the more you track activities in HubSpot, the more helpful this is going to be. If you're recording your calls, great. If you're logging your emails, great. It's going to look at all of that stuff, and it's going to give you a summary. So it's going to give you kind of an overview. This is a real live summary from somebody that we recently sold to in our portal. So it gives an overview of the engagements. So it says it includes multiple emails and a meeting within the past month, focused on HubSpot managed services, which is what they bought, and the pricing details around that. The problems and interests that Barb had. So she was interested in a specific service. Obviously, by the time that I was looking at this, we were talking about the details of the engagement. So she was talking about payment methods and things like that. If this was earlier on, it would have been the pain points for the reason why she wanted the service. What was the last touch point, and then a recommended next step based on that data. So just some helpful ways to you don't have to go through all that activity feed to discern all that. AI is just going to give that to us right at the top of the record. Another form update here. So you can now add properties for custom objects in the new form editor. So if you've got a custom object that is storing information that's not stored on the contact or company record, you could add that in as a form field, and it'll just stamp straight to that custom object. So nice way to allow people to kind of input data into those custom objects that you've got in your portal. And of course, custom objects are enterprise only. So this update only applies there. And then this is that big old scoring property update that everybody needs to be aware of if you're doing any scoring in HubSpot and you've created that scoring a little while ago. So what's happening is this is something that HubSpot's actually taking away. So there used to be a property type called a scoring property type inside of HubSpot. And that's what was used for a long time for lead scoring and any kind of other scoring you wanted to do. And as of August 31st of this year, those properties will stop updating. They'll stop calculating. And then pretty soon after that, we don't have an exact date, they'll start disappearing from portals. Likewise, as of May 1st, you won't be able to create new versions of these properties. So this is going to be, if you're using scoring properties today, this is definitely something that you want to start to create a plan for how you're going to phase these out right away. So how, what the alternative is available to you will depend a bit on what licensing you have. So if you have Marketing Hub Professional Enterprise, there is the new lead scoring tool, which is objectively far better than the scoring properties. It can do a lot more. And so, this is just kind of HubSpot's push to get you to go to the better tool. If you have Marketing Hub Pro, honestly, you should be moving to the new lead scoring tool anyway. Now you kind of have to. So this is one of those things that the Simple Strat can definitely help you out with if you are looking for some help on this. And there's a lot of opportunities to improve your scoring model because of the capabilities of the new tool. You can also use calculated properties and workflows for some very simple scoring. Almost always the new lead scoring tool is going to be a better option for you if you have Marketing Hub Pro or Enterprise. If you have Service Hub Pro or Enterprise, and of course, if you also have Marketing Hub, you can still do that. But there is also company health scores in the customer success workspace in HubSpot. It works pretty similarly to the new lead scoring tool. The only difference, the primary difference being this is for companies only. So you can't score contacts with that, just companies. So not going to be super helpful if you're B2C. But if you are B2B, you can do some scoring there for companies. And this is really designed to be kind of post-sale scoring. You could probably hack it together for some lead scoring if you wanted to, but it's really, you're probably going to experience some friction there. And then also, of course, calculated properties are available to you in that tier as well. And then probably the most unfortunate thing is if you only have Sales Hub, if you don't have Marketing or Service Hub, there really is going to be no scoring available to you. Again, you can use calculated properties or workflows, but those scores are going to have to be pretty simple to be able to be manageable using those tools. So probably kind of unfortunate if you're only using Sales Hub. This may be one of those things where if you were, if you're only a Sales Hub customer and you were kind of on the fence about adding Marketing Hub or upgrading from Marketing Hub Starter to Pro, this might be one of those things that is kind of the tipping point that makes that valuable enough to make that upgrade. All right, moving into some updates that apply to multiple hubs, but not all of them. So our first couple of updates are also scoring related. So while they're taking away the legacy scoring tool, they are making enhancements to the newer tools. And so this first one here is that you can now see score history directly in index pages. So if you've got a column in your index page, which is just the page that lists out all your contacts or companies, you can just click directly on that score number and it's going to pop open the score history, which is going to show you the kind of score trend for that record over time, as well as some actual events in terms of, the score added by 10 because this happened. So nice way to just very quickly get some insights into how that score has changed and why that score has changed. And then our other scoring update is with the Marketing Hub and Service Hub, so both the company health score and the new lead scoring. HubSpot has made it a lot easier to test a record and gives you a lot more data about how that record would flow through your scoring model. So you'll see the final score for that record based on your rules, so what the score would be essentially. The label, so a lot of these scores have a label associated to them. So, you can, for example, you can say they're hot if they're above a certain score. So it'll show you what that label would be. And then it will also show you for each rule in your scoring model, what would their score be for each rule? So basically, what are the things adding up to that total and how is each rule affecting them? And the total number of rules that it meets. So you might have, a lot of different rules in your scoring model, and not every contact is going to hit every rule, of course. And so it's going to tell you how many rules that contact was affected by. So just a lot more data around testing in your scoring. And these are the kinds of tools that with the old scoring model, you weren't getting anything like this. And so again, if you have access to the new tools, they are objectively better than the old ones. All right, moving away from scoring, but staying on the testing thread here for a second, the other update that we've got is a pretty big update to workflow testing. So similar to the score testing update we just talked about, this is just going to give you a lot more information about how a record is going to be affected by a workflow. So it's going to give you a detailed breakdown about why a test record would or wouldn't enroll. So much more detailed than just it would or wouldn't. It'll tell you why. You'll also get more clarity around which branch a record would take. So if you've got branch logic, HubSpot will tell you which branch it'll take. And then there's also kind of a simpler mechanism for getting the marketing emails that record would receive as a result of this workflow. So there's just a send email button next to all of the marketing email actions that allow you to get that. So it looks very similar to the enrollment history view that HubSpot rolled out a few months ago. I think it was early 2024. And so again, it's just going to feel a lot more similar if you're used to that tool and just a lot more visual, more data than total, and then also a more visual representation of that data. And then another update that applies to multiple hubs here. So this is both marketing content and service hubs. You can now edit HubSpot hosted video thumbnails directly inside of HubSpot. So HubSpot has some basic video editing tools, photo editing tools that apply to video thumbnails. So just like basic cropping and selecting a scene within that video. And then you can also use the Adobe Express add-in to edit with Adobe Express from directly inside of HubSpot. So if you're using HubSpot hosted video, nice way to be able to customize your thumbnails and make sure that those are as engaging as possible. We got a lot more updates, but just quick intermission here. So we've got a couple things that want to make sure you know about. First one is we've got our growth assessment. So quick little survey that helps you understand kind of how HubSpot is performing for you and where there might be some opportunities to optimize it. So that's at simplestrat.com/growth assessment, or you can scan that QR code there and that'll take you directly there. I'll leave that QR code up on the screen for just a couple more seconds as I start to preview the next slide here, which is about our upcoming webinars. So we do have at least one webinar every month, which is this one, first Wednesday of every month. We talk about the updates. Next month, we do also have a second webinar about HubSpot websites. So we get questions all the time. My website is on Webflow or WordPress or Squarespace, whatever. Should I move it to HubSpot? What do I get if I move it to HubSpot? Are there any cons of moving it to HubSpot? And so we decided to put together a webinar that's all about that. So that's coming up on February 19th. And then the next one of these new and now webinars is coming up first Wednesday in March. That will be on March 5th. And you can sign up for those, same place you sign up for this one. So simplestrat.com/webinars. And there is a registration link for both of these. Hope to see you there. And we'll dig into the last half of our updates here. I know I'm moving quick. I told you I move fast. We've got quite a few more to go through. But we'll start here with our Marketing Hub updates. So this one here is going to be especially helpful for regional global teams. And so HubSpot, for a long time, you set a time zone for your instance of HubSpot, and that was the time zone that everybody saw times in. Now, for our marketing tools, users can set their own time zone, and they're going to see times related to those assets in their time zone. So really what that means are things like, when did a marketing email go out? Well, they're going to see that in their time zone instead of the time zone that HQ is in. So that will be just a little, again, quality of life update for folks that may be in different locations than your headquarters. And then our next update here is making it a lot easier to set people as marketing contacts or as non-marketing contacts. So you've been able to automate this for quite a while in contact-based workflows. If this happens, set them as a marketing contact or set them as a non-marketing contact, which is great for making sure that people that need to get your marketing emails can, and making sure that people that don't ever need a marketing email from you again aren't using up those credits that you're being charged for. And so this update here is you don't just have these available to you in contact-based workflows now. You also have this action available to you in deal-based, ticket-based, lead-based, whatever workflows you have the opportunity to set the associated context to that object as marketing or non-marketing. So some use cases for this, maybe for anytime you have a close loss deal, maybe in your organization that means you're done marketing to them. So maybe you want to set those as non-marketing, or at least as non-marketing until they take another action that would get them set as marketing. Similarly, maybe you're using the leads object and you want to do the same thing for disqualified leads. Or on the more positive side, maybe every time you've got somebody in a deal, you do have some marketing emails going out to them alongside the touch points that the sales team is making. So you want to make sure that they're associated to a deal, that they're set as marketing, or if they're associated to a ticket, they're set as marketing. So they're getting your customer newsletter, for example, that talks about all your product updates. Or maybe you've got same kind of thing for the leads object. Again, you're doing some nurturing through marketing emails and workflows, and you want to make sure they can receive all of those. And again, I know I've been talking about email a lot, but marketing status is also used for custom audiences that you're creating for your digital ads that are integrated in HubSpot. So that's the other reason why you might want to set these folks as marketing contacts, even if you don't want to email them. Speaking of email, though, we do have an update to the sidebar in the marketing email editor. And so what they've done is they've taken this sidebar that you have access to when you're editing your emails and made it much more similar to the sidebars that you are probably already used to if you're doing things like landing pages or blog posts in HubSpot. So a couple updates here. They gave us this new, they call this the contents tree. So basically it just lists out like all of the sections, columns, modules that you have in your email. And so if you've got a longer email or you just don't want to have to scroll past all the images and things like that you have set, you can just quickly at a glance see all of that and click into a module and adjust its settings. So just an easier way to manage that. You can also drag and drop things here to rearrange sections much more in a much more condensed way than what you do in the actual email editor. And then they've also given us a templates design tab that controls some of the overarching design settings for that template in that email. So again, just a more ubiquitous experience across different tools in HubSpot, and it should be a little bit more intuitive for you as well. And then our next update is a reporting update. So everybody that uses the campaigns tool tends to love when they drop in more reports in here. They give us more insights about how our campaigns are performing. And this is no different. This update allows us to see how our campaigns are performing by life cycle stage of the contacts affected by the campaign. And so we can actually see, it'll be a breakdown of the costs we've spent on the campaign that we've entered by life cycle stage. So again, it's not just going to be, this is what you're paying per customer. You can also see what you're paying per marketing qualified lead, for example. And then this last one here, I'll be honest, I tried to get some more information on this. This seems like a massive update. I think this will be something that we'll be talking a lot about in the future. Right now, it is enterprise only. And the reason I wasn't able to do a lot more research on this is because it is in private beta and I don't yet have access to the private beta. The knowledge base article, I'll be honest with you, is a little bit confusing, at least to me. But what I do know is that as workflows have become a tool that allows you to do all kinds of things in HubSpot. Back when workflows started, they were really just designed to help you do nurture and drip campaigns to your contacts and leads. Now you can, automate deals and automate internal tasks. There's all kinds of things you can do in workflows. And so what they've been trying to do is, how do we bring back that kind of more focused experience of using automation to nurture folks? How do we make that easier? How do we make that easier to create and also easier to see how things are performing? And so what journey automations are in HubSpot is their attempt at doing this. And essentially what it does is it combines things that would have been across multiple workflows into one automation tool. So, when people are at this stage, they're getting these communications. If they, do something that makes them qualified for the next stage, they're getting these kind of communications. The things that are a little bit confusing to me is just the inner workings of exactly how people advance stages. How are we lining up journey stages compared to life cycle stages? That kind of stuff I think will get fleshed out quite a bit over the next few months as these tools come out of private beta and as more partners kind of get their hands on them and get to do some testing here. But I would say right now, the important thing for you to know is that this is coming. And if you currently have a pain point of managing kind of complex nurturing throughout the buyer journey across many different workflows, and it's difficult for you to understand what's working best. Anytime you need to make a change, it's difficult for you to go in and figure out which workflow you need to change and make changes across all the workflows, then this is definitely a tool that you want to keep your eye on. All right, moving into Sales Hub. I only have one update this week that applies specifically to Sales Hub. There were some updates earlier on that would definitely help sales folks, but the update that's only available in Sales Hub is going to be new options to configure that sales workspace. So now everybody has access to the sales workspace. Replace the prospecting workspace if you use that. And now what they're doing is they're giving us a little bit more control over what our users can see in that sales workspace. So basically, if our users don't need to see leads, we can turn that off. If they don't need to see deals, maybe they're an SDR and they're only working with leads, we can turn deals off. So you can configure those tabs and what they can see in our settings just to make sure that experience that they have in that sales workspace is aligned to their role and the things that they're doing in it. Service Hub, we have quite a few updates. And so the first one here is everybody loves our board layouts, right? Where we can see, what stage things are in. The help desk, people tend to love that as well. One of the things that was missing from our help desk was the board layout. And so now you can view tickets that are in the help desk in board layout form. So it's going to be, in help desk, you kind of pick your view, so to speak, along this left-hand side. And that used to basically filter out the conversations that you saw in the middle. Now, if you switch over to the board view, it'll reflect the view that you have here. So these will still be filtered based on the option that you have here. And then one thing to note that may be a little bit kind of wonky is that your ticket pipeline always has a closed stage, but closed tickets aren't viewable in help desk. And so anytime you move it over into a closed stage, it's going to disappear on you. So if you're in the public beta and you're experiencing that, I think that'll be something they work out as it goes live. But just a little quirk that I noticed that you want to be aware of. All right, SLAs. So SLAs are our rules around how long we have to respond to tickets, but not all of our teams work 24/7, and SLAs were counting down 24/7. So if you got a ticket at midnight and nobody's working until 8 a.m., then according to HubSpot, you missed your SLA if you were supposed to respond to all of your tickets within 2 hours. And so what HubSpot is allowing us to do is basically define scheduled hours where that SLA countdown is occurring. And so if the ticket happens at midnight, your SLA countdown won't happen until 8 a.m. when you get in the office. So you basically have until 10 a.m. if your SLA is 2 hours to respond to that ticket. And so the ability to do scheduled hours here is the first update. And then the second update is HubSpot's also giving us 2 new reports and 2 new properties about this. So it's still going to give you the kind of standard 24/7 SLA property, but it gives you time to first response and time to close within SLA hours. So basically, of your business hours, how many business hours did it take to respond to a ticket or to close a ticket? And then 2 pre-built reports that we can use to get that data. And of course, we can use those 2 new properties to create custom reports if we'd like. The next update here is for our customer agent, which basically is your AI chatbot that you have access to in Service Hub. And the update here is that you can now use that AI chatbot for your Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp channels if you have those connected to your help desk. You can use AI to see if the AI can basically solve the request of the people that are communicating to you through those channels. And of course, if it can't, it directs them over to a live person. So the 2 new channels there is the update. Basically, when they try to chat with you on Facebook Messenger, for example, they will get a disclaimer saying that it's AI that's going to try to help them, and then they can communicate with that AI directly from inside of Facebook. And then another update for Service Hub, again, quality of life, making sure that folks are getting assigned the right number of tickets in this case. We can now set open ticket capacities by user. So rather than kind of a default, all of our users can only have 10 open tickets at a time, we can say this user can have 3 open tickets. This user can have 10 open tickets. And you can define by the user what their capacity is. So some use cases for that, we can allow senior reps to work more tickets and kind of restrict those more junior reps. Likewise, if somebody is going through onboarding or training, we can restrict how many tickets they can be assigned. And this is going to affect that auto assigning of tickets. It'll also affect if I want to manually assign a ticket to somebody, it'll show me if they're at capacity or not. Allow managers to take fewer tickets automatically so they have more room for escalated tickets. Ensure users that are focused on more complex tickets have less of them to work at once. And likewise, if you've got any users that are focused on like VIP or priority support customers, you might want them to take less tickets than the kind of typical support rep so that they can offer that higher touch service to those folks. And then last Service Hub update we have here is another AI tool. And so there is a ticket topic dropdown. And what this is going to do is it's going to look at that first conversation for help desk tickets and automatically set that topic. So it works for all of HubSpot's default topic options that you get when you first sign up for HubSpot, but it will also actually look at your customized options that you've added as well and try to set those too. So, it's AI, it may occasionally need to be adjusted, but it'll give you a nice first crack at those topics for a property that's often overlooked by the folks that are supposed to be setting it manually, for being honest. All right, wrapping up with a few Content Hub updates and then a couple updates to invoicing for folks that are using that Commerce Hub. So first one here is an improved experience for generating images in HubSpot. I'll be honest, HubSpot AI is pretty good. The image generation is one area where they're definitely a bit behind other tools. And so I haven't had a chance to play with the new tool very much, but I am excited to see that they're focused on this. So you'll have basically enhancements to the prompt experience. So it's going to help you create a more detailed prompt. And then it'll also allow you to more easily kind of refine your prompts or see examples that you can use to help you start um, to kind of get an idea of what prompts you want to deliver. So just making it easier to generate those images and to create the prompts that are most likely to get you the image that you want. And then our content remix tool is the tool in Content Hub that allows you to take one piece of content and turn it into any other kinds of content, all using AI. Of course, it's first draft content. You may have to refine a bit, but pretty much every month I'm talking about a couple new additions they've made to this tool. And so this month, what they've done is they've allowed you to take a marketing email, either a draft or a marketing email that you've already sent, and use that as kind of the seed at the top that you can then repurpose into other content. So you can do that for things like maybe you've got a newsletter that you want to turn into a search engine optimized blog post, or a product announcement email that you want to turn into a landing page, a promo email for a social ad, an event follow-up email for an event recap blog post, or maybe you've got a really segmented email that you spend some time on and you want to turn that into a persona-focused blog post. So just some ideas to get the wheels turning there. Of course, you can do pretty much whatever your imagination allows with that Content Remix tool. If it's not something you've played with and you have Content Hub, definitely recommend playing with it. Even if you don't have Content Hub, enroll in a trial, play with it a bit. It is a pretty cool tool, and it's getting better every month, like I said. And then along with that content remix tool, one of the things you can remix is podcast episodes. The podcast management tool in HubSpot is pretty robust and only getting stronger, just like the remix tool. But if you were using another platform to manage your podcast, it was a pretty cumbersome experience to migrate that over to HubSpot. And so now what they're allowing you to do is they're allowing you to import an entire show's worth of episodes via RSS feed. So making it a lot easier to make that switch to HubSpot podcast management if you're managing it elsewhere. All right, we've got 3 quick invoice updates here for our Commerce Hub. If you're not using HubSpot invoicing, some of these updates may make it much easier for you to do that. And then we will switch over to Alexis to take us through our Q&A. So first one here is you can now preview and customize the invoice emails. So the last step that you have when you create an invoice in HubSpot is asks you whether you want it to email it directly to HubSpot. And up to now, you couldn't preview or edit that email, so it's kind of wonky. Now you can. So this looks very much like the QuickBooks invoice sending kind of option if you're used to that. It's a very, very similar experience. You can edit your message just right in here and then send that invoice out to them. We can also now associate invoices to tickets. So if there are service tickets or other things you're using tickets for that have any costs for your customers associated to them, you can create an invoice from a ticket or associate an existing invoice to a ticket so you can just track those things better. And then last but not least, HubSpot finally has opened up their API so that you can automatically create invoices in HubSpot via an integration. So this is the kind of thing that's going to take a developer to help you out with, but does open up a lot more ways to, if you're invoicing through another tool, be able to see those invoices in HubSpot, be able to see whether they've been paid, all of that good stuff from directly in the CRM where you're working. So you may want to associate or integrate with things like your accounting software. Maybe you've got an accounting software that doesn't have an integration with HubSpot. You could now integrate that and see, or at least not an invoice integration. You can now see your invoices in HubSpot. Maybe you got the same thing with an ERP or an e-commerce platform. Maybe you've got a proprietary SaaS product and you would auto-generate invoices that correspond with like their monthly bill or annual bill that you can create in HubSpot and see those there and send them out to customers from directly there. You could do that. Or maybe you've got a project management platform. Maybe you're like a professional services company, and once a project ends in your project management software, you want to create an invoice based on the hours that you've tracked to that project. So you can do things like that as well. So lots of integration capabilities here to be able to get those invoices in HubSpot. All right, 10 minutes to spare. Thank you for hanging with us in that marathon. And we will now pass it over to Alexis to answer or relay to me any questions that came up.